But Steve, how am I going to engage on all fronts?
You have to figure that out, Ian.
You have to figure that out, you idiot.
You idiot.
What are you, some type of idiot?
Hey, everybody. Space Marine Steve, Ian from Hyperspace Hobbies. Welcome to the deck. Hyperspace Hobbies, what's up? So we're talking a little bit about secondaries today. I like the tactical deck, and that is it's usually what I will play whenever I play my army in a competitive setting.
Yeah.
Every so often you go fixed, but for the most part,
Yes.
you're going tactical, right? And so we've kind of really talked this through. And we've kind of divided things up into these 4 separate categories. Let's take a look at all of the tactical objectives.
Yeah.
So we've divided all of these secondary objectives into effectively 4 separate categories. In the first category, assassination, bring it down, overwhelming force, and no prisoners. This is the I'm going to kill stuff category. In the next category, it's holding objectives, extend battle lines, tempting target, secure no man's land, storm hostile objective, and then defend stronghold and capture enemy outpost. This is the I'm going to stand on objectives set of secondary objectives. And then we get to the really interesting ones. Here, it's I'm going to stand somewhere very specific, engage on all fronts, behind enemy lines, and area denial. And then here, it's the I'm going to do something very specific, investigate signals, deploy teleport homers, and cleanse. You need to kind of prepare your armies to do all of these things if you're going to choose tactical and commit to trying to score high doing so. The first set, as kind of said, these are all your killing objectives.
Yep.
Right? Assassination, bring it down, etc. As you said kind of before we started recording this is stuff your army should already kind of be able to do.
Yeah, you're going to have to be able to bring it down, kill characters, kill other units.
Yes, kill the stuff sitting on your opponent's objectives.
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff kind of just goes into the playing of the game in general.
Yeah.
If your army can't do any of this stuff, then I don't know what your army would even really be made of.
Yeah, I don't really know either.
Because you should be able to at least be building your army to do this. You don't, But there can be a problem when you do the opposite and build an army list that makes taking some of these things way too easy.
Yeah, totally. And because the thing is you're not in charge of when you're going to get these, right? This is actually targets of opportunity, and your army does need the firepower to accomplish these when you draw them.
Right.
But you also just need the firepower to take out your opponent's threats and make sure that you're removing their assets so that playing the game for them becomes a lot harder. But we're going to assume that your army's going to be able to do this when the time comes, and so we're not going to give it a lot of talk.
And we're also going to assume that you're not, for some reason, taking 15 characters or only vehicles and monsters, which sometimes you can do anyways, and it's just fine because you're playing demons, and demons are awesome.
Yes, but if you do that, your opponent has like a clear shot to taking Bring It Down or Assassination, scoring a bunch of points. So just be wary when you're putting your lists together.
Yeah, be careful. Because you can also be countered if somebody sees you taking Bring It Down and Assassination, and I've got a bunch of monster characters. I might be able to hide them from you for most of the game and just score lightly and sneak out a win just because I outplay your cards.
Yeah, because you telegraph what you're going to do by taking fixed objectives.
Yeah.
So the second set, the I'm going to hold objectives set. So these are things like extend battle lines or secure no man's land, even defend and capture enemy stronghold.
Yep.
So these are great, but again, we're going to assume that you're building an army that's going to stand on objectives.
Yes.
Right? So, because you don't actually build for this. This is how you actually just play the game.
Yeah, and you have to be conscious. Sometimes you're going to get those ones on the first turn, and it's going to be an impossibility for your army. But the ones that we really want to talk about are these 6. Engage on all fronts, behind enemy lines, area denial.
So those right there are the ones that are standing somewhere specific.
Yes.
So let's talk about those.
Right. Well, building an army to do these ones, especially behind enemy lines and engage all fronts, to try to hit the upper tables in a tournament, or even just try to get the upper hand on your opponent, you should be trying to build your list with these things in mind. Engage on all fronts. You have to be in the table quarters, either 3 or 4 of the table quarters, behind enemy lines, just like it says. You want to be in your opponent's deployment zone with a couple units. And area denial, which is a little bit more difficult because you want to be dead center of the battlefield.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can be really hard.
And you want to be there alone.
Yeah, and you want to be there alone. Yeah. So I find that behind enemy lines and engage on all fronts are great for absurdly fast units or sneaky deep strikers.
Yeah.
Like scout squads come to mind because they can kind of bounce around and your opponent might just get tired of screening them out and have to devote resources elsewhere.
Yeah. Not able to screen them out.
Inceptors with their 3-inch meteoric descent.
So good.
Things like screamers for demons where they move way too fast.
Yeah.
The tomb blades for Necrons as well. Yeah. There's lots of units.
Demons, Nurglings, all the infiltrating that they do.
Infiltration, yeah. The thing is that they're hard to time them out because essentially you can't. You're going to be shuffling your deck and you're going to get these at random.
Yeah.
So building your list to do these things and having it actually happen in a game are two totally different things, and it really comes down to chance. But you can
prepare.
You can prepare. There's so many units, so many armies out there that struggle doing some of these things.
Yeah.
And you just kind of have to take it on the chin and go, well, that's a command point. Hopefully I can use that command point to influence the game and get CP later. Remember, CP for VP is something I tell you all the time.
Yeah, you tell me
all the time.
But planning for this though, like making sure that you do build into your list units that are in deep strike, units that are coming in from reserves, like units that move fast enough to make sure that you're actually where you need to be when you need to be there matters a lot. Like, so in the Space Marines example, scouts are really good at that, right? If you play any Imperial army, you know what's really good at this is the Calidus Assassin. She's great at this.
Yeah.
Right?
Even rapid ingressing Terminators and Deep Strike you in a good spot, knowing that these potentially are still in the table.
Yeah.
So your knowledge of the remaining cards in the deck
matters a lot.
Is also really important.
Yeah. You can count cards, right? Like,
essentially, you can count the cards that you've pulled.
Yeah, and go like, all right, I've pulled this, but I know in the deck I could still see this, see that, see the other thing. So for example, something that happened to me at a tournament just this last weekend. I was playing against a guard player. He had a ruthless list. It was so good. Lots of tanks, like tons of ordnance. It was phenomenal. I was able to eke out a win. I beat him by 4 points. It was a 64-60 win. It was really, really close. It came down to the last turn because on turn 4, I just got a scouts on the table. And I said to myself, I looked at the cards that were remaining, and I said, area denial is still in there. And I don't have a lot of speed left, right? So I said, all right, well, time to advance them into the middle. And so I advanced a squad of scouts like into a building so they could hide, right? And it put them within striking distance of the area denial. And I was like, just in case I draw the area denial, I don't know, right? But I drew the area denial, and he actually yelled out. He was, as soon as like I flipped the card over, and it was like, boom, area denial. He was like, no, like, and that is effectively what won me the game. I beat him by 4 points. Area denial for 5.
Yep, that sometimes can be all it takes. Right, is some pre-planning with the cards that are left.
Right, so yes, putting the units that you need into your list is really important, but then also projecting yourself into the next turn, going, what should I set myself up for in case I draw it?
The other things in your list that are not designed to be accomplishing these tasks, you should be setting them up to do these things anyways.
Just in case, right?
Just in case.
You should be setting up whatever assets you have left just to do those things.
If you've searched through your deck and realized that there's a couple of these things left.
Exactly, right?
What circumstances do you typically hold on to a couple cards?
Usually I will hold on to a card. Like, let's say I draw a card that I don't think I'm going to complete right now, but I think I'm going to complete soon. I will usually only hold on to it if I have a very good feeling that I'm going to accomplish it in their turn. So, for example, let's say I draw like Assassinate. Right? And I charge into combat with a unit trying to dig out a character, but it doesn't quite work out, right? But I know that on their turn, I am going to dig them out.
Excellent.
Right? I know I'll score it at the end of their turn, And then I'll be able to draw in a whole new set.
Well, what about holding on to something that you can't accomplish in their turn? So essentially you're sitting there your entire turn knowing you're not going to get it, and then on your turn drawing only one card if the mission allows.
Yeah.
And then playing that.
The only time that I would personally do that is if the facing card that I'm keeping scores me 5 points.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, an area denial, right, that can score you 5 points, or a tempting target, 5 points, right? What I wouldn't hang on to is like, oh, I'm going to hang on to cleanse because I might get one objective for 2 points. Yeah. No way. Exactly, right? Yeah. You have to like do the math, make sure that you're going to get the maximum amount out of that.
Hold on to your high value
victory points. Yeah. So let's move on to the other part that you kind of have to prepare for, which is the secondary objectives that have to do with, as I just talked about, cleanse, doing actions.
Yeah, this could be difficult for a lot of armies that don't have a lot of access to things that have assault weapons. Assault weapons are super key in this particular category because it allows you to advance and forego shooting even though you've gained extra ground, allowing you to try to close in on the areas that you need to be doing these things.
Exactly, right? And the great thing about that assault keyword is that only one like weapon in the unit actually has to have the assault keyword for you to be able to do things like even like strats like grenades and stuff like that. But for these actions, that's why the scouts are so great, because you put one shotgun in the whole unit of scouts and suddenly, right, you're able to advance and do actions and they're exactly what you want them to be. Right. And that's why when you compare like your action completing units to each other, like let's take intercessors.
Right.
There are 3 types of intercessors: heavy ones, there are assault ones, and there are regular intercessors. But the regular intercessors are the only ones that have assault weapons.
Right.
Right. The other ones don't. And what that means is that the regular ones, they actually do something very specific, right? Because they can bomb around the board and complete these actions when you actually need them to.
And they also have a sticky objectives as an inherent rule, so they have a little bit of a double down on how effective they can be.
Right. So,
and also a reminder to everyone playing: if you don't have a weapon that can shoot, but you're still able to shoot a weapon, and let's say I just move Nurglings or something, they don't have any guns, they can still perform these actions.
Yeah.
You forego shooting, but as long as you're still eligible to shoot, if you could, then you're able to.
Yeah, so like the Nurglings is a good example because all they have is like their tiny teeth and claws or whatever it is. Ultimately, what matters more is, I mean, the most amount of objectives that there are is standing on objectives.
Yep.
Right? And then the next sets are standing somewhere specific, doing something specific.
Yes,
right?
That's why I usually play Screamers, is because you can pretty much bounce anywhere and be on an objective to do this kind of stuff.
You're like, oh, cleanse? I don't have to cleanse with my Lord of Change.
Yeah.
Going to cleanse with the Screamers instead. Or, you know, a combination of units that I actually really love is a Rhino and 10 Tactical Marines. For 235 points or whatever it is, you get 10 bodies and a Rhino. Can send guys out in either direction because they combat squad now, right? And suddenly you can be like, oh, this Rhino actually engages on fronts on 2 ways because they get out and then move and advance, right?
Yep.
And suddenly you're doing that and building a screen that's half the board in size.
Right.
The tactical marines don't have to do damage. That's not what the point is. The point is to help them to get you through these 6 objectives, which is standing somewhere specific, doing something specific.
Yep. No, they're going to give up no prisoners.
They're going to give up like crazy. Like crazy.
But that can also be the problem, right? You can go, oh, this actually really, really works. It's because I'm doing tons of MSU, and then your opponent pulls no prisoners, and
they get 5 points.
Then they get 5 points, or bring it down and they get an infinite amount of points. Yeah, it can kind of be. It's an interesting game that everyone plays. Like, subscribe. Thank you from Hyperspace Hobbies.
Peace out.
Did you figure that out, you idiot?
You idiot!
Are you some type of idiot? I thought we were friends.
Yeah.